Hi, Erica. Thanks so much for joining us. All right. As everyone knows, we are fearless, chasing dreams and crushing goals, and welcome back. As many of you know, May is the month of brain tumor awareness and mental health month. And today's episode is deeply personal. I'm joined by someone who's not just a guest, but she's my great friend. Someone who's walked through fire, continues to rise with purpose, heart, and unbelievable strength. Her name's Erika, a brain tumor survivor and a fearless mom of 3 children, and someone who inspires everyone around her, including me. Watching her fight for her health, her peace, and her family while she's still pouring into others is truly remarkable. She's a part of my life and a powerful example of what it means to live boldly, live fearlessly, and even when life doesn't go as planned, she's there for it all. So this episode is for the moms who are healing, the survivors who are still fighting, and for all women who are trying to rediscover themselves while carrying everyone's weight on their shoulders. Erika, thank you so much for joining us today. I can't wait for this great conversation. I'm going to turn it over to Christina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Erika, thank you so much for being here. We're going to start from the beginning. Can you walk us through what happened, your diagnosis, your surgery, and what life has looked like since then?
Okay, well, that's certainly a very full question. So, basically, what happened was I have 8 years between my first child and my second child. And then we were also blessed with a third child who is about almost 3 years younger than our middle child. So basically what had happened was I had gone back into the baby mode. I was pregnant or breastfeeding for the better part of 5 years. And our daughter was probably 8 when it all started, just about 13 when I was kind of getting out of the whole breastfeeding situation. And I had been focusing so much of my time on everybody else for 5 or even more years because of my daughter as well. And I just suddenly decided I was having some like minor health issues. And so I decided it's time to start checking those off the list. And you might notice right now I sound a little congested. I have absolutely terrible sinuses, terrible allergies, have had a chronic postnasal drip for my whole life. So the main thing, I was also experiencing some numbness in my fingers and some weakness in areas of my body that I maybe wasn't noticing at the time. But the thing that was most bothersome to my life was my sinuses. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to start. I don't know if it was somebody had mentioned it to me, like, you're so focused on everybody else's health.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. So I ended up finding an ENT. The only ENT that was accepting patients was with Yale. So it was quite a drive. And I was going to explore sinus surgery because I was just done with my sinuses being terrible my whole life. And so I went there and, they were so bad. He couldn't get the scope up my nose. So he put me on like a week's worth of steroids, which didn't help opening it up so he could get the scope up. And he was like, you know what? I'm just going to send you to a CAT scan. So I get into the CAT scan and they're like, okay, this is only going to be like a minute, blah, blah, blah. And then they did the whole thing, but then they just left me sitting there. And they were like, one lady comes back in and she's like, the radiologist just wants to talk to you. So there's a phone on the wall. Can you just pick it up when the radiologist calls? And I was like, okay, that's weird. And so he gets on the phone and he's like, yeah, so we're noticing this like mass on your brain. It's probably benign, but are you okay to drive? And like, honestly, I felt like I had broken out of jail just to go to that appointment because you know how hard it is to get away when you're a mom of 3. And especially I think Nicholas was probably like 18, 19, maybe he was 20 months at the time. So yeah, so it was like just before his second birthday. It was actually just before Annabelle's birthday in like probably late October or something like that. And then I was like, what do you mean? Am I okay to drive? Like I drove here. Like, what are you talking about? I had no idea that I had this thing. And yeah, so, and then basically fast forward that my ENT referred me to a brain doctor. And then that brain doctor said, this is not my thing. You need to go see this other brain doctor. And I just got plucked and put into Smilo with Dr. Molerturno, who's also a mom, by the way. I should add, she's a really badass mom and a badass brain surgeon. And, that kind of made me feel a little safer. She didn't, everyone was kind of like sugarcoating the thing the whole time, like all the different doctor's appointments. And I was thinking it wasn't that serious. I'm going to wait till after Christmas, you're everything at Christmas time. I don't want to say what you are because my little guy is home and might be hearing me. But moms basically do everything for Christmas. We all know
It's
that.
true.
And so I was like, oh, I'm just going to wait till after Christmas. This is no big deal. Da, 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 da. And so I go to this lady, Dr. Merlaturno's office, and she was like, oh no, the longer this is in, the more damage it is causing to your brain. You're getting this out on Wednesday.
Oh my God.
And it was 5 days away or something like that. And my surgery ended up happening on December 13th, 2023. And so it was right before Christmas. I hadn't done any of I had done some Christmas shopping, but I certainly hadn't finished. And, I found out about it probably the weekend of Annabelle's birthday. So for that whole month of time, I was basically stressing out,
Of course.
And so, so that was basically what ended up happening. Thankfully, I live in an amazing town. I have, as Erika mentioned, I have quite the following. I'm very vulnerable about the things that I share on Facebook about, being a mother. I was a yoga teacher before all this happened, and I was doing some exercises from home and had lost a lot of weight, which I have now gained some of it back, and I got to try to get back on that horse. But, so I had quite the following, and there was another mom here in town who's heavily involved in the schools and the town services. And she basically adopted our entire family for Christmas. Yep. People got us Christmas gifts down to, I wasn't able to wrap them after my surgery. I'll talk a little bit more about the side effects after. So they literally wrapped them, brought them on Christmas Eve. And literally there was Santa came to our house looking for his reindeer. It was just, the town totally just made it a very special Christmas for us, which was great. But yeah, when I was telling Dr. Moliturno, I just want to wait till after Christmas, she's like, no, you want to be home for Christmas. The only gift that your children need is you. And so obviously I freaked out, but because I wasn't really ready to hear what I needed to hear, And so there I was. I went in to brain surgery, and what I had was, thankfully, it was benign. It was called meningioma, which is a tumor that grows out of the lining of your brain. But I had it for it's a slow growing tumor, but I had it for a very, very long time. So by the time it was diagnosed, it was basically the size of a baseball. And so it was squishing 25% of my brain. So I was lucky and I was able to have a full resection, but then they had to cut out part of my skull because there are tumor cells that stick to your skull. And if they put it back in, it can come back. And then when they tested the tumor, even though it was benign, it was atypical type 2. So if it ever does come back, it could be actual brain, it could be cancerous next time. So I had to go through 33 treatments of radiation. I lost almost all of my hair. I didn't really lose my hair on this side of my head because I was being mainly radiated over there. And I'm going to have a permanent bald spot for the rest of my life. But as you can see, my hair is growing back and I think I rock the comb over pretty well.
It looks beautiful.
It looks great.
Thank you. So that was just a real challenge to go through, especially with young children. And my now 14-year-old at the time was 12 going on 13. She doesn't like to admit it, but I think she's had kind of a hard time with all of this and has made some decisions that are a little out of character for her and maybe not the most kind decisions in the world. But obviously she's going through it and, isn't really able to express that. And the little ones, it's really hard when you need to be taken care of, but you're also expected to take care of 3 people. And, So that was really hard. John did take some time off of work to help take care of me, but also just a brain injury is something that we don't always understand if you haven't gone through it yourself, because we all do these things with our bodies that we don't think about, or we think that we're not thinking about. And so I was left with a weakness in my right arm, which is my dominant arm, and my hand. And I can open and close my hand, but these fingers do not work individually. So I'm still working on trying to write, trying to type. At first, I couldn't cut anything. At first, I couldn't even raise my arm above my head. So I've been working a long time with physical therapy and occupational therapy, and I've gotten a lot of my stuff back. But, Erika knows I'm a musician, which is, one of the reasons why I'm friends with her husband. Our husbands used to play in a band together and have been friends since childhood. So, that has been one of the hardest things for me, because I like yoga and I like music, and it's very difficult to play piano or guitar when you have this type of disability. And it's also difficult to do yoga when you cannot support the weight of your body with your right arm. And I'm sure there's some modifications. So I really should get back into I think I'm ready to get back into doing some of that on my own. But those are my outlets. So I was going through a really stressful thing, and all my outlets were kind of taken from me. So
I was going to say that, Erica, I don't mean to interrupt you, but did they give you a prognosis when you had the surgery of what life would be like after the surgery? Or was this all new to you?
They warned me that of some things that might happen, but it's hard with the brain because you don't know what area of the brain might or could be damaged. So I could have gotten this out and it could have just popped out and I could have not had any damage and I could have just recovered and been fine. But what happened was, where the tumor was attached to my brain is a little bit of scar tissue. Prior to the surgery, the doctor said, "Oh, that's a little close to your speech area. You could lose your ability to talk.
Oh my God. Wow.
And you might have to relearn how to talk." Thankfully, that didn't, well, I'm sure John wishes that happened to me. I talk a lot. But thankfully that it didn't take that from me. But, it's definitely given me some challenges, which I consider actually very minor. I have joined some brain tumor support groups, and I'm also in a support group for moms with cancer, because even though my tumor was benign, whenever you have a large thing growing in your brain, they consider it brain cancer, even if it's not cancerous. So watching what some of these other people are dealing with, like some people, when they have a brain tumor, they get it out and then half of their face like droops, or their eye is messed up. And then they have to have like several surgeries on their eye. So some of the people have like no side effects. So it's really like hit or miss. And I don't think that the doctors know enough about your brain to actually tell everyone exactly what is going to happen. So they were like, this could happen. This could happen. But there's no telling what actually will happen until we take it out. But I can tell you that if you don't get it taken out, these are the three things that could happen. You could have a massive seizure and just die. You could have very slow paralysis of the right side of your body and actually go paralyzed on the right side of your body. So, it's definitely better if you're given the option of basically life or death, but you're not given what the quality of life is going to be like afterwards. So, I have 3 kids, so I'm choosing life no matter what.
Of course.
Of course. And I think that brings us to a
The
question
next
that we
question.
had. Yeah. Is that with all of these physical and daily challenges that you have, you talk about emotional weight, and what's it like trying to be a present mom while healing physically and mentally?
I have to say it's really, really hard. I imagine it's harder for some others that are dealing with more significant challenges than I am, but it's hard. You're not like, I had a 2-year-old and I wasn't able to pick him up anymore, and actually I was trying not to talk about this, but my friend did recently pass away from stage 4 colon cancer, and she's my age. We've been friends for a long time. And she was actually very supportive of me. We weren't like actually seeing each other because we were both pretty sick, but online, she was very supportive of me. She encouraged me to get counseling, which I was never a counseling type of person prior to this. But that has been a really big help for me to deal with. I can't pick my son up anymore. The therapist just reminded me that I'm really the only one that cares that I can't pick up Nicholas. Like, he doesn't know the difference. He just loves me for me. And one of the things that really helped me get through some of the really tough times in the beginning were his actual snuggles. He would just climb. He was when I came home with like the bandage on my head, the 2 older ones were a little scared of that. But Nicholas didn't see anything but his mom. So he would just climb up on my lap. I didn't have to pick him up. He would climb up on me and he would snuggle with me. And that brought me a lot of joy, especially in the beginning when I was like really suffering. So that was really nice to have that. A lot of people don't understand what going through something like this is about. And especially when it's your brain, it's an injury that you cannot see. So I look normal walking around and everyone's like, okay, her hair's growing back. She's better. It's a different type. It's a different than other types of cancer or other types of tumors because it affects this thing that nobody can see. So they don't know that this is damaged. This is affecting my ability to communicate with my right arm and hand what it needs to do. So when I'm there in like occupational therapy, like I'm working on giving the finger again, and I have to sit there and I have to tell my middle finger, go up, middle finger, go up. Like I have to spend every ounce of my concentration to get that one little thing to happen where other people are able, and I'll do it with my left hand, they're able to just flip you the bird, and they're not thinking about it. But it's such a mind-body connection. And so when I first got through with this, people think, oh, you get through the surgery, you're done. So people are like, Erika, you're a warrior. My cousin got me like this hat. My mother-in-law got me like a sweatshirt and like a mug. Like I'm supposed to be walking around with this sweatshirt saying I beat brain surgery. Like, no, I don't want people to think that that's all I'm about. I'm still the same person that I was before.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm struggling with some challenges. I'm struggling with my outlets, like playing music and journaling. And, it's very hard to meditate when I can't drive. So I started having seizures also as I was going through my radiation. Had never had a seizure before. So once you start having seizures, you cannot drive for a period of time until you're seizure free. The first seizure medication that they put me on, and this might be off topic, but it was causing me very severe depression where I was literally having passive suicide thoughts. Not that I was actually planning on doing the deed, but I was like, I just don't want to wake up today. I don't want to wake up. I don't even want to be here. This is too hard.
Oh my goodness.
And so that was really, and then, my therapist pointed out that this could be caused by the medication. And so I had to go to my brain doctor and he prescribed something different, which I ended up having some breakthrough seizures as I was transitioning medications. But I'm telling you, it's like night and day being on the new medication. I don't feel like that at all. I'm like grateful for my life.
That's
I'm
great.
grateful.
That's so great.
Yeah. So, but I just don't want to walk around with a t-shirt saying I had brain surgery. Like,
that's not you, Erika. That is not you.
I am still a person. I'm not just a person that had brain surgery. I'm a mom. I'm a musician. Everything I'm into yoga. I love gardening. So all that stuff is still true about me, and it doesn't change just because I had brain surgery. That's not what I'm all about. I like to inspire other people that had brain surgery to work on getting a quality of life back, to keep going, to keep smiling until the smile doesn't feel fake.
Oh,
So that thing, fake it till you make it.
yes.
So there were some days that maybe I posted a picture of myself and I said, I've been through this and this sucks, but I'm still going to put a picture of myself smiling because I'm still going to smile every day because that actually makes you happier and it makes other people happier.
So true.
So,
So true.
How do you practice self-care now? You talk about you did yoga, you liked gardening, not just physically, but also emotionally and spiritually too.
yeah. So I listen to a lot of music. Like I always have like music going when I'm doing something in the house and I kind of zone out on that.
So therapeutic. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been rediscovering some artists that I haven't listened to in a long time. Like I like a lot of female artists like Tracy Chapman and Tori Amos and Ani DeFranco. So like I was into the whole girl rock thing for a while. So I've been rediscovering that. Gardening, I'm still able to do. So I love getting my hands in the dirt. This hand, I can't feel these three fingers. So that can be a challenge, but I can still dig in the dirt. I sat there with my 6-year-old and we planted a bunch of plants from seed, and it's a nice, quiet time. People with brain injuries too, they have issues with a lot of different sounds. And so, I have 2 young boys, 6 and 3. So, and the teenager in her room blasting her Sublime, which we're going to Sublime late in the summer too with her
that's so
and
cool.
2 of her friends. Yeah. So that can be overwhelming at times. So sometimes I just need to tell John, like, I just need to go in like another room and I'll come down here and just try to be out of it for a little while. But yeah, just finding some solitude when the kids go to school and it's just me and the little one, like maybe just doing something with him or just snuggling with him, going outside, being outside, walking as much as I can. That can get tiring, but I still do it. And yeah, I guess that's how I find it, just finding some solitude. And I'd like to try and get back to listening to some audiobooks too, because that always helped me in the past, but I haven't started very much of that yet. So yeah, I guess that's my answer to that.
Thanks. So Erika, what does it mean for you to be a fearless mom, especially right now? What does it mean to be fearless for you?
I don't think I'm ever fearless.
Okay.
But I will say I'm brave because I always teach my children bravery is when you're afraid of doing something, but you do it anyway. So, sometimes it's hard to push through, especially with, I know I've talked to you about this before, but the mind body connection is something that like is crazy when you've been thinking about, say, like I went to occupational therapy and I've been focusing on making my middle finger come up for like an hour. I feel physically tired later. Like my whole body feels physically tired because my brain is tired.
Yeah, sure.
And then sometimes when I'm physical, then I get like a headache right in that spot where my tumor was. And that being physical makes my brain tired too. So there's that. Sorry, I had a little itch. There's that back and forth, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if I answered the question.
You did.
We call it fearless. You call it brave. It's,
Yeah.
We
so
find
just,
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're afraid, but okay, I'm afraid of this. I understand, but what's the worst that can happen? And you just do it, whatever it is.
If you had a message to say, Erika, to all the moms out there about whether it be your story or just being a brave mom, what would you say?
Wow, that's a tough one. Being a brave mom, I would just say, try not to, when you're afraid of something, try to do it anyway and try to enjoy it. Sometimes it's hard because we say yes to a lot of different things. I find that I'm learning more now that I have to say no. I cannot overwhelm myself. But if you said yes to something, just do it and don't let all your, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I said yes to this and this and this. And you know what? Because that takes all the joy out of all the things that you're doing. So if you said, I'm going to volunteer at my kid's school, and then you think of it as a burden because you have so many things to do, and why on earth did you sign up for that? Just go to it and enjoy it. Enjoy being with your kid. Enjoy that you have the opportunity to go and volunteer. Like I went and I was reading I was a mystery reader at Jonathan's school. And it was really tough for me because I had chosen the book before my father passed away. And then my father ended up passing away January 9th. And I had signed up on the 31st, which was my birthday. But the book that I was reading was a book that was given to him by his parents when he was 5.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And it's called The Little Sailboat. And my whole family, they all enjoyed boating in the water. I never appreciated it when I was a teenager. And my dad he was a marine biology major when he was in college. So he was really into the ocean and stuff. And I grew up boating with my parents. So that particular book, I really like it because it teaches a lot of nautical terms by just using them, not by telling the kid what it means. So showing them what it means. And so I really enjoy that. And we have an antique copy that was my father's, and literally written in the front was like Merry Christmas, Lee, from Mommy and Daddy. So from my grandparents. And then, so I had already chosen that book. I had ordered an extra copy of it so it would have, because all the pictures that we have in our book are all in black and white, but I wanted to more interesting for the kids. And I also didn't want that antique book to get ruined when I went into his classroom. So I had ordered it, and then my father passed away January 9th. And then when I went to read it for the class, I can say I had some fear because here I was being vulnerable, reading a book that was given to my son by my father, whose parents gave it to him when he was 5. And he gave it to my son when my son was 5. So it was really special, and I had to really try not to cry when I was reading it, you know? And so I was afraid of that. But at the same time, I tried to enjoy it. I truly did. I was overwhelmed. I was sad over the death of my father, which was a little untimely, even though he was old. It was not supposed to be his time. So I was having a hard time dealing with that. And so I was fearless. I just went in there and I just, I said, these kids, they don't see any of this. They don't see the pain that I'm in with my father. All they see is I'm a mystery reader. I'm coming to read a book. And Jonathan was like so excited that I was the one because he didn't know I was coming. And so it ended up being a very enjoyable thing for me. So I would say to the other moms, like, don't try not to be overwhelmed. Try to just, do the thing. And when you're doing the thing, don't let all the other stress take the joy out of it, because that's why we do the thing, because we want joy. Right?
Yes.
I love that. That's so powerful. More than you know, honestly, Erika. And, this month we say gray for May. What does that phrase mean to you now? Not only as a survivor, but as an advocate, and most importantly, as you've just beautifully summarized, a mom.
Yeah. Oh, that's a loaded question because I never even thought about gray for May before this thing happened to me. So, when it happened to me, first of all, I'm hoping that when I recover completely, I might get a little tattoo of a gray heart turning into a butterfly behind my ear. That's like one of my dreams that I want to do for just commemorating,
commemorative.
Yes. Just that I got over this challenge, but not wearing it as a badge, like on my t-shirt, I never really thought about it before I had this thing. And then I had this thing and I learned that May was brain tumor / brain cancer awareness month. And it's also awareness for all sorts of mental health issues.
Absolutely.
So depression, any type of brain damage, traumatic brain injuries, all of that. So any kind of thing going on with your brain, anxiety, all of that. So, I never thought about it before I had this thing, but I will say I've suffered from a lot of those things throughout my entire life and never really sought the true help that I needed because I just thought it was just normal. I actually I've been diagnosed with adult ADHD. I learned that I had it because my daughter has ADHD. She will deny it, but it's clear as day. So I've had a lot of shame over not really fitting in to the regular executive functioning that all of society has. My whole life, I've always struggled with being on time to jobs, to school, showing up. Um, that's been a real challenge for me. Every single job that I've ever lost was because I was frequently late. And they would all say, "Oh my God, you do such an amazing job when you're here, but we just need you here." And I mean, that's understandable, right? But I didn't know why I was struggling with that so much. And it was just, I had a date, like a swimming. I had a friend invite me to a country club that she was a part of, and they were swimming. And I was bringing Annabelle, and Annabelle was like 6 or 7 at the time. And I was hours late because I was having so much anxiety over going, just being in a bathing suit, having to get in a pool with Annabelle. I just was having a hard time with it. And, I never got invited back because I was like 2 hours late. And I felt bad for my daughter because, I put her through that. So those are the things that I'm learning how to like deal with now. Yeah, so it never meant anything before, but I realized that it needs to mean something because it's not just the brain tumor. Like my brain, everyone's brain is a little messed up. So we should all go to therapy. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying that. Katie would be proud though.
Oh, I love that. Erika, we just thank you so much for your courage and your honesty and your heart. This episode meant more than just having this conversation and getting to know you. For me, it's a reminder to keep going and that you have to love deeply and hold on to every joy. That's one of the things that we talk about all the time, even in the hardest moments.
Yeah, look for the silver linings always.
Yeah. And Erika,
Yeah.
you're not just a survivor, you're a mother, a leader. And I'm so grateful to have you as my great friend.
Oh.
And I can't thank you enough for being on our show today. And to everyone that's listening, Erika's story reminds you that healing isn't a straight line and that strength can look like many different things. And it's finding that heart and finding that love for yourself and what you're going through and moving forward as Erika has shown us so boldly that she has done. And from that, fearless doesn't mean that you're never afraid. It means moving forward and being brave. Erika, thank you for sharing that with us. So this May, wear your gray, say the name of survivors, check on your strong friends, and know that you matter too.
This is Erika, and this is love. And we are so proud to share that your story with the world. And you really touched me, Erika, I have to say.
Thank you.
So, Grace for May, mental health does matter, everyone. You matter. And always keep chasing your dreams and crushing your goals.
And I will just say, I just want to add one thing. Life is a roller coaster. Like Erika was saying, it's never a straight line, but a roller coaster is fun.
Yeah, it is.
When you go down, you're always going to go back up, right?
Right. And I can't think about, and I always think about, and I'm going to share this, like when that summer before everything happened, right? For you, we were on the craziest roller coaster you could have ever imagined. Erika and I are on it, and I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And Erika's like, "Come on, you got to go." And I was like, "Dude, I don't want to go." And you're like, "No, let's just do it. We have Erika watching the kids. We're free right now. Let's just go." And like, I'm so glad that we did that, even because you made me vulnerable. You helped me get over that fear. And I was like, okay, it is a roller coaster. So your analogy for that, I always think fondly on that moment because I was like, I really don't want to do that. But I did, and I had so much fun. And I wanted fun,
right? Yeah. Right? And I was scared too. But I wanted to be strong for you.
Oh,
I was scared too. I haven't gone on that one since. And I'm a season pass holder. So there you go.
Thank you, Erika.
Thank you, Erika.
You're all right. Thank you for having me. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.